I am Evalyne Kyalo in Nairobi, and we welcome our viewers in Kenya and around the world. The second episode of Inside takes a global and exclusive look at evocative issues affecting public attitudes in politics, business, arts, and education. First, a look at the major stories around the world. Donald Trump impeachment petition. Democrats introduced article of impeachment against President Donald Trump, though they acknowledge their efforts have no chance of success while Republicans control both houses of Congress. Trump is, however, looking to hire Clinton's impeachment attorney to stand for him. On to our second major story. Volcano in Hawaii. There were fresh volcanic eruptions on the southern end of the island of Hawaii after a series of traumas left residents displaced and frightened as the authorities evacuated the state's largest park on Friday, the 18th of May 2018, and worked to keep people out of the two subdivisions that had been evacuated. On to our major story. You are fired. Donald Trump sacked National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster and replaced him with FNC analyst John Bolton. He reportedly decided to fire him in what will be the latest in a string of high-profile White House departures. Sarah Sanders, the White House spokeswoman, said there were no changes at the National Security Council, a response that avoided the issue of whether any were being planned. And before we get our feature story from our correspondent Cynthia McKenna, remember to tweet us at Mwinza K on Twitter and message us on Facebook at Eve Kyalo. At Rose Irungu on Twitter says, Trump is doing what he thinks and he knows is right. Well, over to our correspondent Cynthia Mwinza.
Well, yes, here Eve, we are on the ground with my team, but first let's hear a speech from the president.
Heshimu wewe, tumeagree, umesema 60 days, turudi kwa uchaguzi. Jubilee, we are ready. Na tunataka IBC watangaze siku. Na sasa, kwa sababu tunasikia wenzetu, ndio wamerudi kesi tena, sasa lazima tuwe na IBC mpya. Let me tell you, we've been here before. They chased out the old IBC. If they think we don't have that time, if you have accepted all the rest of the results, let us accept the ruling. Maraga, don't interfere. And don't think that because our friends shout and we keep quiet, that we are scared of you. No, we are not. We are not. You've done your ruling, we have respected it. Let IABC do their job. Let them declare the date. And Raila, let us meet at the ballot. Sini namna hiyo? We are not bothered with courts anymore. Court wamemaliza kazi yao. Wamesema turudie. Si namna hiyo? Na wamesema IEBC within 60 days. Bas. Tuagojea debe. Na tuataka siku itangazwe haraka. Yeah. Kama hawa watu wanataka UN, waende wafanye UN wawe agency wao, wafanye yote, sisi hatujali. Wakitaka kuita nani, maserikali ya wazungu hao, wakitaka kuita hiyo, wakuje wa supervise. Wakuje wakuwe observers. Lakini kura ifanywe na tume ambaye iko katika katiba la Kenya, na hiyo ni IEBC. Waite hawa wazungu wote wakuje watembee huko, watembee na hawa, we don't care. We have nothing to hide. We have nothing to hide. All we want is for the will of the people to prevail. Na niwaambie, na niliambia Wakenya zamani ya kwamba wenzetu hawana haja na chaguzi. Wenzetu wanatafuta njia ya kuingia serikali kupitia mlango wa nyuma, ati nusu mkate. Mimi nawaambia wenzangu leo waziwazi mchana, wenzangu, nusu mkate, hata slice moja hakuna. Hakuna hata slice moja hakuna. Mkitaka shindeni uchaguzi, wananchi waamue. Si namna hiyo wenzangu?
Thank you very much, Cynthia. And before I let you go, what is your take out of all this?
Well, as you've heard from the president himself, he has realized that there is a disconnect between the judiciary, legislature, and the executive, the three arms of the government. And here on the ground, we see the people notice the same thing. He goes ahead to talk to Mr. Raila Odinga, the main opposition, and telling him that we need to find a solution to this problem. Well, that's all we had for you here. Back to you, Kyalo.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. At John Wafula on Twitter says, the president should follow due procedures when it comes to hiring and firing people. Remember to keep the conversation going at Mwinza K on Twitter and at Kyalo on Facebook. And we will be unpacking this issue of heads of states not following protocol. This is important as it has been witnessed here in Kenya immediately after the August 2017 elections were nullified. The president said, and I quote, "We shall revisit." This statement was taken as a threat by the judiciary. Well, joining me to discuss this issue are my three gentlemen guests. I have Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., who's a member of the judiciary and also a member of the legislature. Mike Njoroge, a news editor and a former law student. And Kevin Odinga, a political aspirant and a youth leader. Welcome, gentlemen. My first question is to you, Bwana Senator. Recently we have witnessed a disconnect in the three arms of government. What is your make of this?
First of all, it's a very untidy situation because the breakdown is not anticipated. Breakdown is not constitutional. It was expected and anticipated in the constitution, in the law and practice of government. The three arms of government will speak to each other or work in a manner that they would not clash and openly. And if there are any dispute, that dispute would be resolved without necessarily spilling over to the public. Where you find the members of the executive castigating members of the legislature, alternative threatening the members of the executive or legislature, or the legislature attempting to vet the members of the judiciary in the manner that they are doing is very untidy for purposes of the rule of law and administration generally, and something that should be discouraged. It is expected that they would find a place where they will all talk without necessarily compromising their position, because the mandate of each of these organs is clearly defined in the Constitution. Everybody can still stay on track without necessarily it spilling over to the public, to the extent therefore that if the members of the executive are required to obey a court order, they ought to obey that court order so that then they can set an example that the rule of law applies to the members of the executive, because the browbeating with the members of the judiciary with the executive paints a very bad picture on the general public, to the extent therefore you cannot tell a member of the public to obey a court order, which is again a breakdown of the rule of law and an abdication of duty by the members of the executive. We expect that even the judiciary itself will not issue injunctive orders for purposes of work that is proceeding in Parliament. They would wait for that work to be completed. If it's unconstitutional and somebody is aggrieved by those decisions or processes, they can go to court and challenge without necessarily looking as if they're impeding on the work of Parliament.
Thank you. I'll get back to you, but before that, let me get Kevin Odinga's sentiments. We shall revisit. Do you take this as a threat?
Well, just as I began by saying, is these arms, and the mistake we make is that we think one has power than the other. Yes, I believe there is a consequential process that one has to form the other. Like for instance, we cannot have a judiciary without the legislative. But that doesn't mean that legislators have got to probably think that they are arrogated roles to even now control the judiciary even after putting them in place. I understand the vetting process that must go through the legislative, must go through the approval of the executive, but let's understand and define the role differently. Well, I'm in a position to accept that in actual sense, legislators have actually gone beyond the yonders to actually tamper and interfere with the judiciary, and especially one issue, because it is because of the general election that we had, and clearly in the Legislative Assembly we have greater number from Jubilee Party that supports the president and the executive as a whole. So what do we expect? We expect that they will go by the mandates of the executive and do whatever the executive wants. But that should not be the case. All the bodies and arms should actually be independent.
Okay, and finally, does the rule of law apply in Kenya?
Rule of law applies in Kenya, I will say yes.
Okay, Mike Njoroge, on the same question.
It's a bit unfortunate because yes, it does seem like a threat and a bit intimidating. It's a sort of tension that arises whenever you have the arms of government and when they're trying to work independently. So one arm is trying to interfere with the other. But it's normal in young democracies like this one of ours in Kenya. We're only around 50 years old, and so our democracy has not reached the point where the institutions can stand on their own. So we still need a bit more of character to build those institutions, so that the intimidation is not there.
Thank you, Mike. And if I may bring in back Bwana Senator, does the rule of law apply in Kenya?
The rule of law applies. I'm just saying that if an ordinary Kenyan today had a court order to obey, and they refuse to obey, they would be jailed. I've given you an example of doctors who were represented and they were jailed for refusing to negotiate and go to work. They did not commit any crime. They just didn't go to work as ordered by the court at the time. Their own interpretation that the return to work was not a violation. The refusal to return to work was not a violation of a court order. They faced a jail term. Now, what am I saying? I'm simply saying that an ordinary Kenyan today, Wanjiko, Nyokabi, Mwikali, or Uma, cannot interpret a court order, cannot argue with a court order, cannot challenge a member of the executive, or cannot challenge an order issued by Parliament. To that extent, therefore, the rule of law applies. But the few who want to behave as if they are Lord unto themselves have treated the law as if it's an appendage. Therefore, the rule of law in Kenya applies because generally the reason why you have law and order in Kenya generally is because people obey the law. It's only a few who, have taken the option to interpret a court order, to disagree with the court order without challenging it, to therefore issue castigating remarks against judges who they don't like, either because it appears to be a relative of one of the lawyers, to call them cartels. That is not available to an ordinary member of the public.
Thank you. Mike, your sentiments on the same?
The rule of law, when it fits for any side, any political side, when they think the rule of law will be to their benefit, then at that moment it does. So on the basis, then that means it's not applying on general terms, because the rule of law should be applicable at all times. So therefore in Kenya, people like to throw it around only when it benefits them.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your feedback.
For your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Our viewers, remember to tweet us at Mwinza K on Twitter and message us on Facebook at Kyalo. And just to sample some of your social media responses, at Wamboi on Twitter says, it takes the government of Kenya. It is like the government of Kenya is testing the patience of the poor. And by the government, I mean the three arms of government, which is the legislature, judiciary, and executive. Because it seems in Kenya, when they say that something is illegal, it means it should not be done by the poor, simply because the rich can afford it. Thank you very much, Wamboi, for your feedback. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your responses on these issues. According to me, the three arms of government should work together to achieve one Kenya. Thank you for watching The Insight, the second episode. Please remember to comment and subscribe. I was your host, Evalyne. Bye.